Hello again, guys. Last time I reviewed the Series 7 Warrior Dragon and said it was a dragon that retained dignity for this fading line. Today we look at another Series 7 dragon, which I think rekindles further some of those dying embers of the McFarlane Dragon series. This is the Series 7 Fire Dragon. Now, what you really have here is a repaint of the Series 1 Fire Dragon with a new head sculpt. Now, we know that repaints are often the beginning of the end of any toy line, but this one's so striking, however, that it's worth getting if you didn't get the first one. So the most obvious thing really is the color. It's always nice to have a dragon in one of the 5 traditional colors, and this one is unabashedly green, ranging from an olive to a crocodile green throughout. This transitions to a yellow ochre as we move ventrally. The obvious highlights are a nice red on the spikes and spiny protuberances. Now, less obvious are the accents of black in this dragon. You see that in these stud-like spikes on the hindquarters and on the tail, but you also see here an almost horizontal black stripe running down between the lateral and ventral sides. The ventral side, which is grey-white. And I'm really pleased by how well these colors go together, especially here in the neck, with the black acting as a very nice tie-in. So that's the color. Now on to the detail. If you like your dragons highly textured, there's nothing to complain about here. There's plenty of variation in spine and scale throughout. See here, for instance, a leaf mail type design, beautifully overlapping and overlying a smaller version of the same type of scale. See how they part anteriorly to give way for an under armor going from the neck down to the sternum. Now these are overlapping scutes with a spiny point. And even then, there's a difference as we transition from the neck to the chest. Now, these scutes here in the neck have plate-like anchors. And these, in turn, have tiny indentations, another detail they really didn't need to have. But they did anyway. But the ones in the chest here are supported by mini ribs down here. Again, they could have just lazed down and done everything uniformly, but they didn't, and that's the kind of detail that I like. The forearms are covered in these bristly overlapping scales, and even in the soles you'll see detail too, these footpad wrinkles. Oh, and just on the soles, these really are just the heads of the metatarsals, but when you look at the soles themselves, look at that overlapping detail. It's very nice, and it's really something that you would have to look at carefully in order to even notice and then appreciate. Again, really very nice detailing throughout, I must say. Look here again, yet a different kind of scale. The underside, again, different texturing, but all very, very fine. Now the scales on the tail are a different kind again, and if you look here, the lighting on, they're very small, almost cup-like, and indeed reminds me more of what you'd find on a Chinese dragon. And indeed, if you look at these tail filaments here, they seem to agree. So there's really an Asian aesthetic to it as well. Now, this dragon has spikes and spines galore. Now, we've seen the ventral side. Let's go dorsal. Now, obviously, you see these dorsal spines, which are reminiscent of iguana spikes, except you don't get triple rows on an iguana the way you see here. It's really wonderful how they transition in size from the tall ones here, how they transition in size to the intermediate ones here, and they get smaller and smaller until they finally segue into normal looking scales. Now these spikes run the length of the animal, but they're not uniform. You'll see obviously thicker horns here, which adorn the upper part of the tail and mirroring actually the triple row of spines here in the thoracic region. But look how they taper off in size. From here it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and they taper off to a really minuscule level. So that's really impressive to me. These hip ridges are more like solid plates of overlapping scale, and of course you have the black spikes, studs rather, that pepper the hindquarters here, the lateral surfaces of the upper tail, the ankle, and even the shins here and here. Now as for the head, oh, holy shit. You know, I really don't recall another dragon with finer texturing on the face. Just look at it. You have very fine veins of texture everywhere. And this motif is carried on down this middle set of spines. Look at that fine detail. The cheek is fringed by black spines, looking almost like a beard. Very nice detail. And really the head is just bristling with ornamentation. Several layers of spikes here adorn the crown. Here, I'll show you a different angle. And really there's no doubt that this is a very well protected animal. Finally, look at these lateral tail horns here. Now this is not just simple spikes here. They actually seem to have their own supporting skeletal support, almost like mini vertebrae. Here, again, very nice detail, very nice. Down here. These vestigial looking wings are probably useless for flying, yet these wing fingers are very nice, very thick and segmented, very nicely sculpted, and the vascularity is rather sparse compared to other dragons we've seen, but still they're very nicely detailed. Very nice. The hoof-like appearance of these thick stumpy claws together with the pathetic wings suggests perhaps a more terrestrial animal. As to the base, it's a simple rocky affair, though with some washes of color that saves it from being completely monotonous, and it's generally functional but really nothing to write home about. And when you see the whole thing put together, it's really quite a work of art. Mine lists to the side, unfortunately, and the tail peg will need some sandpapering to get it to fit. But otherwise, I have to say that this is a pretty wonderful dragon. The pose itself isn't very dynamic, but when you consider the amount of detail throughout this dragon and the color scheme doing justice to the design, you can easily overlook that rather static element. Now that's the really great thing about this dragon. It's not just about the visual, but the textural variety. And if you're a kinesthetic person, you're really going to enjoy looking and holding this dragon. This, I think, is a worthy dragon to add to your collection, especially if you don't already have the Series 1 Fire. So that's it for now, guys. Next time we'll look at the final dragon in Series 7 as we come to the end of days for this collection.